into climate change without the politics. Because of course, when you start talking, you get into the politics, it creates a lot of division. So we don't need to get into the politics.
Right.
Tell me what's up with this whole climate change thing? What is your opinion on the climate change and your honest
So,
opinion? And by the way, before I go any further, we're on podcast as well. Alexander New Show. This interview is right now being put on podcast platforms. So mainly Spotify. So you can listen to this interview later on if you want. You don't want to look at me. You can look at Mr. Setzer, but you won't look at me. You don't have to. You can listen to the podcast later. That's what's great about digital media. So anyways, let's talk about the climate change. What's your opinion about it?
so first, I think we just have to agree that we have to take care of our planet. I mean, we can't just treat it like a garbage can. We can't just dump stuff into the atmosphere or into the oceans. I mean, and we've gotten better here in this country, but it has to be a worldwide thing. I mean, we're all connected because we're on the earth, right? So so first off, we just have to we can't just forsake the planet. Second, I'm all for renewable energies and things like that, but I think most people don't realize the scale of what it requires in terms of solar and wind to make up for our current energy usage. And also, I think we've got to have what's called a base load. And a base load means generation of power so that when the wind doesn't blow and there's no sunshine for days, everybody can still do the minimum they need to do. And then if on top of that we use renewables, I think that's great. But I don't think we can just sacrifice all of our energy sources just for renewables alone. I'm a proponent of nuclear. I know people are like, oh, nuclear, but
We've never had a nuclear disaster ever. And I've been in
not
Miami for 46 years since I was a
not
baby.
here, right? Right.
Never.
But it's
Cuba would
clean, it's
never
energy efficient.
Cuba would never dare fly a plane to Turkey Point and bomb Turkey Point. That would be a disaster for the island of Cuba.
Yeah, yeah. It's. I mean, I think it's pretty safe. In the next 20 years or so, we're going to have newer forms of energy. So I think that in my opinion, I think our future, our outlook is positive. Now, are the oceans rising? They are. They've been
What's the
rising.
number one reason why?
One reason why is because the Earth goes through these cycles, and the Earth has slowly been warming since the last what they call the Malter minimum, which was a sunspot minimum in the 1680s to 1700s. And so the Earth was cooler then, and it's been warming. When the Earth warms, the oceans expand, the water gets warmer, and the oceans expand, and that raises the sea levels. You can find shells. I mean, all the way up almost to Disneyland because at times the ocean's been higher. I don't think we'll see that in our lifetime, but the ocean's also been lower. It goes up and it goes down. Uh, so my other big thing is that we need to remain adaptable. People will say, "Oh no, I live on Los Olas in Fort Lauderdale, or I live on Alton and 15th, and it floods a lot." We can mitigate against that on Miami Beach, but the water's rising, and it's been rising according to the Key
That's
West
because
record
the
since
planet is warming. The
1913.
planet is warming, right?
Yep. Yes, it's warming.
So, how much is human to blame for the way the world is? I mean, obviously, there's some blame,
Exactly.
but how much blame should there be for global warming?
So that's the big question, and you nailed it when you said that there's some contribution, right? We are impacting the weather in some way. I don't think we know exactly how much we are impacting it because, I was talking to a friend and they're like, modern medicine doesn't know as much as you would expect about the human body. We're just talking about like a person. Imagine the whole planet and all of these processes and feedback mechanisms. It's very complex. We're influencing it, but I don't think we're influencing it as much as some would claim.
So, to be fair here, a lot of it is and correct me if I'm wrong. I'm ignorant when it comes to this. That's why I have you on the show. A lot of it is the Earth warming, right? And it's also humans causing a little bit of it, global warming, right? Or and so is that fair to say?
I believe so. I think so. I mean, a simple example is If you look at a picture of Miami International Airport in the 1930s, it was two runways and and the Everglades. And now look at it. I mean, you've got 836 and 826. You've got warehouses. You've got Doral. You've got Westchester. You've got so many areas that hold the heat. So we're definitely influencing the heat, the weather there locally. And there's probably some contribution all globally to what we're doing in the atmosphere as well.
Do you believe that all this smoke that these factories, especially in China, that blows into the air, do you believe that it affects us?
Well, we'll see, and that's the thing, right? I mean, let's say we go to what they call net zero, which means we don't have carbon emissions. China and India are still the largest contributors, so we can't do this alone. I mean, it's right that we're doing it, but we are contributing to the warming by us just stopping.
And it also includes not polluting the oceans, not polluting I don't know, the lands or something. I mean,
Right.
what is your opinion in regards to that? Does that also play a part?
Yeah, I mean, there's this huge thing in the Pacific Ocean, which is trash floating around in a circle in the middle of the North Pacific, and we have to. We can't do like apparently we did over the last century, where we just we use kind of the Earth as our dumping ground.
Is the global warming but real quick question in regards to this: is global warming and climate change the same thing? That's a
So
little bit of a stupid question, but I wanted to ask you.
no, there's no stupid questions. That I mean, originally the climate was warming, or at least the prediction was for the climate to warm, and it was warming. And but then there were some events where it was colder than normal in some places, and there were these big cool downs. And so I think to better craft the message, they couldn't just call it global warming because maybe people were freezing in Siberia or Canada or something, and in the northern U.S. And if you can't say global warming, people would be saying we need more global warming. So they kind of changed the terminology there to just kind of incorporate everything.